Alrighty, YouTube Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. Big game this week, of course. Thanksgiving night, prime time. I think this is the first 49ers Thanksgiving game since 2014 in Seattle, I believe. Or actually, it was a home game against the Seahawks. 49ers haven't played on Thanksgiving in a long time. I think it's the first Thanksgiving primetime game since 2014 with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach when the 49ers lost at home to the Seahawks. But either way, obviously, I typically upload the preview videos anywhere from 2 days to a day before the actual game. But of course, with Thanksgiving, I'll have a busy day, so I'm not going to be able to obviously upload that, or I'm not going to be able to make that video then. So I figured I'd just put this video up now. It'll be up for a couple days, obviously, going into the game, but I just figured it'd be better that way. But either way, let's get right into it. So, of course, the Seattle Seahawks, 6-4, just lost to the LA Rams on a last-second game-winning field goal miss by Jason Myers. Seattle is 4-1 at home. And then obviously you with the Niners, you have 7-3 record. They're 3-2, I believe, on the road. Yeah, 3-2 on the road. There's a lot at stake for this game, of course. Clearly, if Seattle can beat us, it'll make the NFC West race a lot tighter than I think what a lot of people thought. But this, in a way, is another must-win game for the 49ers. I mean, you look at the 49ers, if they win this game, they can improve to 8-3 going into Philly to take on the Eagles. And, of course, San Francisco really can't, if they want to have a shot at the number one seed, they really cannot afford to lose any games really in the next month coming up. Because, obviously, with the Eagles beating the Chiefs last night in a close game, it wasn't pretty for the Eagles, but they found a way to win, so you got to give kudos there. But when you look at the 49ers, they can't really afford to lose much more, if any at all, games coming up. So, yeah, I mean, looking at this game as a Niners fan, and it's like it's got to be a must-win game for them if they want to stay in the race for that number one seed. In my opinion, the number one seed has kind of already slipped from the Niners' hands, going on that 3-game skid they had, but I mean, it's the NFL, and I would expect Philadelphia to at least lose 2 more games. But that also, I mean, the 49ers are already at 3 losses, and if Philly loses 2 more games, clearly they're going to have 3 losses as well. So, if Philly can lose 2 more times, but San Francisco beats Philly and they win out, which is going to be tough to do, but they're capable of doing that. We've seen that in the past from the Niners team going on a big run towards the back half of the season. But, if they beat Philly and Philly loses 2 more times, San Francisco can secure that number one seed. So a lot at stake, obviously, going into this game for Seattle. Now, as far as like injuries go, for the 49ers at least, there's not really any notable injuries other than Talanoa Hufanga, of course, who's going to be out for the season. But Aaron Banks, 49ers guard, is expected to be back and playing. That's a big plus for the 49ers. I know I talked about in my last video about how John Feliciano struggled last week against the Bucks, and it's going to be huge going into this game with Aaron Banks potentially looking like he's going to be able to play. To be honest, I didn't think that was going to be a possibility considering the 49ers are coming off of, they're going into a short week. They just played Sunday. Now they got to play Thursday night in Seattle. So it seems like Aaron Banks' injury and recovery is coming along fairly well. So he is expected to suit up against the Seahawks. Obviously, we'll kind of see how the next couple days kind of hold up. But so far, Aaron Banks is on the right track. But really, other than them 2 guys, there's really no other notable 49ers injury going into this Seattle game. Jair Brown, of course, is going to be the starter at strong safety. He's going to be the starter at strong safety with Hufanga obviously being out. But yeah, I think with Jair Brown, I thought he played very well. I did. I mean, there were. He obviously let up that big play against the Bucks. That resulted in a scoring drive for the Buccaneers. But the following drive after that, and I talked about this in my post-game video, but the following drive after that, he stepped up big time, had a game-sealing interception, had a couple of pass breakups. So he showed glimpses of what he can be, and 49ers fans have to be excited about that moving forward. Clearly, he's a young player, and I know there's going to be games where he struggles and whatnot, but it's the NFL. All-pro safety struggle, and, with Jair Brown, he has learned up until this point from an all-pro safety in Talanoa Hufanga. He's learned from a veteran safety that's been around the league for a long time, and Tashawn Gibson. So, he's got the tools, he's got the talent to be a good safety and to fill in well for the 49ers team, but obviously we'll see how that kind of works out for them. But yeah, so other than that, I mean, like I said, the Niners aren't really dealing with any other major injury. I mean, the Niners are really going into this game pretty much as healthy as they possibly can be, which is always a good sign. Because no matter what people think of Seattle being a 6-4 team, I know a lot of people have said that Seattle is the worst 6-4 team. Seattle's found a way to win. It hasn't been pretty all season, but they found ways to win. And as long as Pete Carroll is their head coach, they're always going to be in contention right there competing with the NFC West. So as far as Seahawks go, obviously there's a couple notable injuries for them, starting with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker suffered an oblique injury during the Rams game. Now, Pete Carroll mentioned that he actually could play this upcoming Thursday. Now, he's not an injured reserve candidate, but Pete Carroll says that he has a legit oblique injury, which I don't really know what that means. I'm guessing that it's probably a more severe oblique injury. He hasn't been ruled out. I would imagine, though, just being on a short week, I don't think Kenneth Walker plays. Obviously, as a Niners fan, I'm hoping he does play, to be completely honest. I want these two teams to be as healthy as they possibly can be. But knowing how McCaffrey's oblique injury went and knowing how serious that injury really was, McCaffrey didn't miss any time, but the 49ers were also not on a short week like they are going to be this week. But just knowing how serious McCaffrey's oblique injury was and how bad of an injury that is to running backs all in all, I just don't see him playing. I could be completely wrong. And obviously I hope he plays and I hope he suits up and plays, but I don't think he's going to play. Obviously the 49ers need to prepare for this game as if he is playing, and I fully expect them, to be doing that up until the point of this game, or up until the time of this game. But so that's a big injury for the Seahawks. Kenneth Walker's having a great season. He's a great running back. You hate to see a guy like that go down. I believe Zach Charbonnet will be his backup, and he'll be the starter for Seattle this upcoming Thursday. So Kenneth Walker's, one of their notable injuries. And then moving on to another notable injury, which is arguably worse than this Kenneth Walker injury. Geno Smith is dealing with, I believe, is a shoulder injury, or it's an elbow injury. He's dealing with an elbow injury, but Pete Carroll expressed optimism that he could play despite being on a short week. So I think Geno Smith will play. I think it's a long shot up until this point that Kenneth Walker does play. Again, could be completely wrong. Both of them guys could either be out. Both of them guys could be in and playing. But again, I know how the Christian McCaffrey oblique injury was, and he really was doubtful heading into the Monday night game against the Vikings. And then he felt good. He didn't want to sit out, and he decided to play. So, again, I would expect Kenneth Walker to be out, but with Geno Smith, I expect him to be playing. And like I said, I mean, the way Pete Carroll has kind of talked about Geno Smith going into this week makes it seem like he will be playing. So, obviously, that Geno Smith playing or not, he's not going to be 100% going into this game. So that's something to watch out, obviously, for the Seahawks. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it looks like that's pretty much all the most notable injuries for this game. Now, obviously, like I said at the beginning of this video, the Niners going into Seattle as a 6.5-point favorite over the Seahawks. This is going to be a battle. This is not going to be an easy game for the 49ers. Yeah, they're staying on the West Coast, but they're playing in Lumen Field. Which, by the way, I hate Lumen Field, like the name. I don't know why they ever changed it from CenturyLink. I know that has a lot to do with, like, sponsorships and people buying rights to this, whatever the case may be, but you had CenturyLink for so long, I don't understand why you would switch that up. To me, it's always going to be known as CenturyLink. But either way, yeah, again, it's going to be a tough game for the Niners. Seattle competed with San Francisco last year. Now, I know San Francisco played them on Thursday night, and they beat Seattle pretty convincingly. And then obviously we played them in the playoffs, and therefore up until the first half it was pretty close until San Francisco kind of put their foot on the gas and it got out of hand. But Pete Carroll and Kyle Shanahan have had battles, man. They just have, and I genuinely think that this game could be decided by 3 or 4 points. I mean, I really think this is going to be a close game. If there's anybody in the NFL that knows Kyle Shanahan more, it's probably Pete Carroll. He's played him 2 times in the past, 6-7 years. He played him 2 times this season, and but at the same time, it's the same. It's a double-edged sword because Kyle Shanahan also probably knows Pete Carroll more than anybody else, in the NFC West and really in the NFL. So. I think it's really going to be a brawl between him and Kyle Shanahan, between Pete Carroll and Kyle Shanahan on Thursday night. Really, keys for the Niners, I think this is a big day to get Christian McCaffrey. I think this is a Christian McCaffrey type of game. Seattle's 27th against the run this year. Their run defense has been shaky all year. They've given up a lot of yards to running backs this year. I genuinely do think this is a game where 49ers are going in knowing that they're going to be running the football. I don't think San Francisco is going to have to pass a lot. I think San Francisco focuses on the run and focuses on getting Christian McCaffrey the ball a lot in this game. I think that's what you have to do. Again, Seattle's not good against the run. Christian McCaffrey leads the league in rushing yards. He probably leads the league in rushing touchdowns as well, I would imagine. But yeah, I mean, I think going into this game, it's gonna be Seattle's defensive line and their defense playing Christian McCaffrey. I really genuinely think that this is a game where Christian McCaffrey could explode. But aside from that, I mean, I think another thing is like you utilize that play action pass. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey's running the football well, like he did last week, and I'm not saying Christian McCaffrey had a great game last week, but he had 21 rushes for 78 yards. So it was that's a thing where you think Christian McCaffrey. Like, I thought overall McCaffrey had a good game. He did it in the receiving part as well. I mean, he had that receiving touchdown. But no, I mean, I think, yeah, get McCaffrey the ball. I genuinely think it's going to be a McCaffrey type of game versus that Seattle defense. And I think Seattle knows that's probably coming too. But I think getting McCaffrey involved will open up that play action. And San Francisco should be able to utilize that play action to perfection as long as that McCaffrey run game's clicking. So, yeah, I think get McCaffrey the ball, open up the play action. I think another big key going into this game is if Kenneth Walker plays, is Fred Warner and those linebackers, that linebacker core San Francisco has with Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. I think another big key would be Fred Warner and then linebackers versus Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet. I think Fred Warner's been a dominant player all season long, which isn't surprising. Everybody knows, every Niners fan knows that Fred Warner is the most complete. Every NFL fan knows that Fred Warner is the most complete linebacker in the entire NFL, and I think clearly he shows that week in and week out. He had a phenomenal game against the Bucs. He had a phenomenal game against the Jags too. So I think Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw having big days is key to win, and I think they will. I think no matter who they're playing, those guys are going to show up and show out. But I think them against Seattle's running backs is going to be another big key. San Francisco's been decent against the run. They've definitely been better against the run over the past couple weeks, coming off of that bye week. But I think that's a big thing going into this game. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, getting to those running backs, wearing them down, hitting them hard, stopping that, slowing down or shutting down that Seattle running back passing game. I think that's key. And kind of staying with the defense here, I think Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, eliminating those outside passes like they did last week is also going to be huge. Obviously, San Francisco struggles probably the most when it comes to, defending that outside pass. They haven't been great at it all season. I think they've been better at it coming out of this bye week, but I think that's another big thing going into this game. Geno Smith, again, Geno Smith throws the ball a lot. He does. And I think if Seattle is without Kenneth Walker, I think Seattle will probably attack the passing game heavily. Clearly, the passing defense has been the weakest part of the defense probably up until this point. They haven't been great against the pass. We'll see how it is with no Talanoa Hufanga. I would imagine they're probably going to be targeting Jair Brown a lot. Seattle's. I think you can look at them as more of a pass-heavy team. I think up until this point, though, they've been pretty balanced. But potentially with no Kenneth Walker going into this game, it's going to be huge for Seattle to be on their A game when it comes to that passing game. So, I think overall this 49ers team can win this game. They should win this game. I mean, Seattle clearly isn't up to full health. Neither is San Francisco, but at the same time, I think San Francisco, with or without Talanoa Hufanga is clearly the better team. With or without Aaron Banks, they're clearly the better team. I think San Francisco is just the more physical team. There's not a lot of teams in the NFL that match San Francisco's physicality, and I've talked about this before, but I just think San Francisco dominates every team, and the way they do that is being more physical than that opposing team. And I think going into this game, they're going to have to be more physical than Seattle, in which I think they will be. Stopping the outside passes, those linebackers, limiting those running backs again like they have been the past couple weeks. And then, of course, getting the ball to Christian McCaffrey is going to be key to this game. I think Brock Purdy will probably have another decent game. I'm not going to say decent. I think he's going to have another great game. Brock Purdy's been the best quarterback over the last couple of weeks. He just has been. I mean, there's not been another quarterback that has had a higher quarterback rating than Brock Purdy. So I expect him to have another game. I expect him to limit those turnovers. That's always going to be a key for the 49ers is hoping that they can limit, the turnovers. I just think San Francisco is going to be too much for Seattle in this game, and that's why I'm taking the Niners. Of course, I'm never not going to pick against them, but I'm going to take the Niners. I think they hang 30 on Seattle. I'm going to say 31-21. I think San Francisco wins pretty convincingly here. It could definitely be closer than what I think, but I think with Seattle's run defense not being up to par this year and them not being up to full health, I just think San Francisco, that's a terrible matchup for San Francisco. That's a nightmare matchup for Seattle when it comes to San Francisco's run game. I mean, Christian McCaffrey does it better than anybody in the league at the running back position, and with Seattle's run defense being shaky, that's a scary thing for Seattle. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, he kills you in the rushing attack, but he also does it in the passing game, and that's what makes him the best running back in the NFL. There's nobody else that does it at a high level like him. Like I said, I think San Francisco wins pretty convincingly. I think McCaffrey has a monster day. I think he does it well in the receiving game, in the passing game. I think Debo could have a big day. he's kind of been a little quiet. He did have 3 catches for 64 yards last week, so he was a little more involved than what he has been. But again, he was coming back from a hairline shoulder fracture, so that could always play a part in why he's kind of been a little quiet over the past couple of weeks. But I think this is a game where San Francisco just runs it down their throat and kills them in doing so. I think that'll open up the passing game for Ayuk and Kittle to get involved, even Debo as well. So I'm calling for a big day from Debo and a big day from McCaffrey. I think those 2 guys eat this game. So yeah, I like San Francisco in here a lot. I mean, I like them by 10 points, 31-21. I definitely think, again, it could be closer than what a lot of people think. And I think really in all reality, the game will be a lot closer than what my score prediction is. 31-21 is a close game. I think San Francisco probably gets a field goal towards the end of the game that just kind of puts the game away. Or they may even get a touchdown, towards the end of the game that puts the game away. I don't know. But I like the Niners by 10 here. I know they're opening up at 6.5-point favorites, and I wouldn't be shocked if San Francisco won this game by 3-4 points. But I just think going into this game, I think Seattle is going to be overwhelmed with Christian McCaffrey, and I don't think they're going to have an answer for him. So, yeah, like I said, San Francisco by 10 at least. But I definitely think, again, I mean, and the reason I think I'm picking this game to be 31-21 is simply because Kenneth Walker probably isn't going to play. And then Geno Smith is likely going to play. He's probably going to play through that injury, but Geno's not going to be healthy. He's not going to be fully healthy. So, that's also scary knowing that the 49ers defensive line's kind of been coming alive over the past couple of weeks as well. So, yeah, I think, again, I mean, I haven't talked about the defensive line yet, but I think the D-line probably eats too. I think Seattle's offensive line has not been good at all. We've seen that in that Baltimore game when Seattle played Baltimore. Their offensive line has been terrible all season, and that's scary, like I said, going against the top defensive line in the NFL in San Francisco. So, yeah, I think, again, Niners win, of course. I think the matchup's just too bad for Seattle, especially with him not being fully healthy. And I think the 49ers take advantage of that and give him a can of whoop ass and then eat turkey legs on the field after the game. So we'll see what happens, though. But I like the Niners a lot here. Let me know your guys' score predictions down in the comments below. And then, of course, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there as well. There's not a whole lot better than a 49ers game on Thanksgiving and it being prime time, so it's going to be an awesome game. It's against arguably the biggest 49ers rivalry in the NFL. So yeah, let me know your guys' predictions in the comments down below. With that being said, go Niners as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.